It happened on a day when Washington least expected it, a moment when America still believed it could sit on the sidelines and watch Europe tear itself apart from a safe distance. The United States wanted stability. It wanted peace. And above all, it wanted the war across the Atlantic to stay across the Atlantic. But on this day, American intelligence uncovered something that shook the entire foundation of how the country saw the conflict. Hitler didn't just want Europe. He wanted time, and he was quietly exploring a deal with the United States to get it. The discovery was not supposed to happen. The message wasn't meant for American eyes. It traveled through diplomatic channels far from Washington, buried inside a chain of conversations between German officials and intermediaries who didn't fully understand what they were participating in. But once decoded, the meaning was unmistakable. Hitler's government was signaling openness to an arrangement, a long-term understanding that would divide the world into spheres of influence. Germany would dominate Europe. America would dominate the Western Hemisphere. And in return, the United States would stay out of the war. For the people in Washington who read the message, the reaction was not excitement, it was fear. Because if Germany was trying to make a deal, it meant they were thinking far bigger than anyone realized. And if the United States even considered the offer, the entire war could change. Britain could fall. Europe could be locked under German control for generations, and the balance of the world would tilt permanently. To understand why this moment was so explosive, you must understand America in 1940. It was not a global superpower yet. It wasn't ready for total war. The US military was small, underfunded, and outdated. The country had spent years focused on its own problems. Factories were still recovering. Politics were divided. Most Americans believed the ocean would protect them from Europe's nightmares. The idea of fighting a massive modern military machine terrified Washington. If the United States entered the war before it was ready, the results could be catastrophic. That was exactly why this intercepted message hit so hard. Hitler wasn't threatening America. He was trying to reassure it. He wanted a world where America stayed neutral, where the United States looked west and left Europe to him. And the most frightening part was how logical the proposal sounded on paper. If America accepted, it could avoid war, it could avoid losses, it could avoid the chaos ripping Europe apart, it could stay safe. But the cost of that safety would be the future of the world. When the message reached American intelligence analysts, the room went silent. They knew what this meant. Hitler wasn't just fighting for territory. He was thinking decades ahead. He wanted to reshape the planet. And he believed America might be persuaded to allow it. The information moved quickly to senior officials, and soon the president's advisors were debating behind closed doors. The atmosphere was tense. Some feared Hitler was bluffing, trying to buy time before eventually turning on America. Others believed the offer was a sign of weakness, proof that Germany feared American power long before America understood its own potential. But one concern rose above all others. What would happen if Britain learned about this? Britain was fighting for its survival. Its cities were damaged, its resources were stretched thin, its future was uncertain. If Britain discovered that Germany was exploring a deal with Washington, even privately, it could destroy morale at the worst possible moment. Britain needed to believe the United States was leaning closer, not further away. But there was another layer that made the situation even more complicated. Stalin and the Soviet Union were a looming force in the East. Many in Washington quietly believed that Germany, as brutal as it was, acted as a counterweight to Soviet expansion. The Soviets had already shown their ambitions in Eastern Europe, and American strategists knew that Stalin's long-term goals could reshape half the world if left unchecked. A Germany locked in a struggle with the Soviets meant the Red Army stayed focused eastward, not pushing outward across Europe. Some American officials understood that if Germany collapsed too early, the Soviets might fill the vacuum across the entire continent. This unspoken truth made Germany's attempted offer even more dangerous. If America accepted the deal, Hitler would gain stability in the West, and concentrate fully on the east, that meant Stalin would face an unrestrained German offensive. And if Germany defeated the Soviet Union, the map of the world would change forever. On the other hand, if Germany and the Soviets exhausted each other, Europe might avoid being dominated by either extreme. The stakes were higher than anyone wanted to admit. So the information was kept locked behind classified doors. Only a handful of people in Washington ever saw the full message. But inside those rooms, the discussions were filled with panic. If Germany succeeded in convincing America to stay neutral indefinitely, Britain could fall. If Britain fell, Germany would have full control of Europe. And if Germany controlled Europe, the United States would one day face a power so large, so industrially strong, that the war America avoided in 1940 could become far worse in the decades ahead. This was the terrifying future Washington had to consider. The Allies had their own reactions when they later learned portions of what Germany was trying to do. British leaders were stunned. They couldn't believe Germany would make such a bold attempt to divide the world. They saw the message for what it truly was, a sign that Hitler wasn't planning a temporary war. He was planning a global structure, a world where America and Germany never fought because their spheres didn't overlap. It was an attempt to freeze the map of civilization in Germany's favor. And in London, the Soviets became a shadow in every calculation. If Germany freed its Western Front by securing American neutrality, the full weight of the German military would swing east. Britain understood what that meant for the balance of power. A collapsed Soviet Union would leave Germany unchallenged. A victorious Soviet Union would expand across a devastated continent. Neither outcome was acceptable. But America wasn't ready for a war, and that vulnerability made the discovery even more dangerous. The U.S. had only a small standing army. Its air power was limited. Its navy, though strong, was not large enough for a multi-front global conflict. Military leaders in Washington knew the truth. If America entered the war in 1940, it would be fighting with incomplete equipment and untrained forces. The country needed time to mobilize, time to build factories, time to produce fleets of aircraft and ships. Germany knew that too. That was why they wanted a deal. The message was not a gift, it was a trap. A way for Germany to finish conquering Europe and then decide on their own timetable what to do with the Soviet Union. If America stayed neutral long enough, Germany believed they could reshape the world before the United States ever acted. And the most terrifying part? It almost worked. For months, America hesitated. Debates raged in Congress. Radio programs argued endlessly. Some Americans believed the intercepted message meant Germany wasn't a threat. Others saw it as proof of Germany's global ambitions. But deep inside the government, one conclusion became unavoidable. If America accepted Hitler's promise, it wouldn't be peace. It would be surrendering the future. If the United States stayed neutral forever, Europe would fall. The Soviets would be crushed or unleashed. Asia would shift. Africa would be carved up, and the 20th century would become a century shaped by authoritarian control. This wasn't just about borders. It was about the destiny of the world. In time, the intercepted message shaped America's growing understanding of the conflict. It made leaders realize that staying out forever was impossible. It revealed that Germany already viewed America as a long-term rival. It exposed how dangerous it would be to allow Germany to dominate Europe or eliminate the Soviet Union. And when America finally entered the war after the attack on Pearl Harbor, that earlier message lingered in the minds of those who had seen it. It confirmed that the United States had made the only choice the world could live with. Because if America had taken Hitler's offer seriously, the modern world would not exist in its current form. The United States might never have become a superpower. Europe might never have rebuilt. The Soviet Union might have collapsed or expanded unchecked, and democracy might not have survived in vast parts of the world. That is why the day America discovered Hitler wanted a deal with them became a turning point. It wasn't just a secret communication, it was a glimpse into a future that almost happened. A future the world narrowly avoided. and a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous messages aren't threats, but offers.